All right, I'd like to reconvene the May 12th, 2020 regular council meeting. Moved it here to, transferred it here to the Village Hall. I'd like to call to order. We are now at 6:39 p.m. I show we have quorum with Councilman Lyon and Mayor Pro Tem Vandenberg, and we have Councilman Mark Elise on the phone.
Hang on.
Hold on one second, we're getting a little feedback here.
I mean, people are not turning the volume down. Yeah, just turn it
Turn the
down.
volume down all the way. So, show we do have quorum. First up, we'll have adoption of the agenda. Do we have any additions, changes, or anything else anyone wants to add or delete?
I would like to, on unfinished business, number 2, discussion of and consideration of ordinance OR 2020-0504, amending the village charter to change the form of government from mayor council to council manager, the word "and," to allow the mayor to vote on all matters. I would like to make a motion to split that, so it's not "and." Those two matters are split apart from each other.
Okay.
The word "and" pulls them together.
Two different subjects we're looking at changing.
Correct.
Okay.
So I make a motion to.
So do you want to have make number 3 to allow the mayor to vote and then just
Yes.
move everything down?
Yes.
Okay, so 2 will be mayor council.
Okay. Yep.
And then
Three
3 will be
Mayor.
mayor to vote.
And then change all the numbers.
Change all the
Okay.
in succession.
Okay. Anything else?
Okay, anything else?
Did we have anything in the packet for the Parks Rec and Greenway Master Plan presentation?
No, that needs to be tabled.
So let's remove that under agenda item A, number 5, because there's nothing in there.
85.
Yeah.
28. And we're going to
Tabling
move it
it,
to the
or-
work session?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's supposed to be May 28th.
Okay, so tabling it to May 28th? Okay.
Anything else? All right, I need a motion to approve agenda as amended.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ask him to mute his phone.
He will. Yes, we did the votes.
Oh, that's true.
Motion passes. Next up, we have Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next up on the agenda, we have public comments. Just a reminder, we ask that you state your name fully and your address, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Kim will be timing, I guess?
Timing.
Okay. And I see we have, the first one up to speak is Laurie Prim. All right.
And is this regarding just public, this is general information or?
You can talk about anything you want. If you
Well,
want to tell us
do
what
I
you-
need to separate any comments regarding the budget from this, or can I do both at once?
No, there's a
She signed
public
up on
hearing.
those sheets.
Yes, you did. You signed up for the public hearing. So there is a placeholder for the budget, and there will be an opportunity for you to speak at that as well.
Okay.
So this is just whatever you want to talk about.
Okay, all right. I did want to, I'm sorry, my name is Laurie Brown, and my address is 3616 Glendon Court in Blackstone, North Carolina. And the first item that I wanted to speak about was regarding the mayoral vote. I had understood that there was a concern raised about this a few months ago, and that was going to possibly be put to a public vote, so that could be voted on by the members of the community. And I wanted to find out if that's still the case, or has that been changed?
It's not a time to interact. It's just speaking.
Okay,
So.
all right, so if that has changed, I'd like to see if that is to be reconsidered. I understand that there is also an open position right now on the board, I believe that's correct. And if that's the case, I'd like to see if that both of those issues could be tabled until one, the position is filled, and then two, the opportunity for this particular issue to be put to a public vote, so that all of the citizens can vote on that and not just the board. And those are the two issues that I want to speak to regarding the general conversations. And I'll have another comment when it comes to the budget. Anything else I need to say or do?
That's it.
All right.
Thank
Do
you
you
for
have
your
written
time.
comments?
Huh?
Ms. Brown, do you have written comments?
No, if you prefer me to write them, I can email it to you. Is that a preference, or would you rather?
No, you can email them to,
Yeah, you can email
if you want
For the
them,
record.
verbatim, then,
Okay, I've got your card. I will email those to you tonight.
yeah, that'd be good. Thank you.
Okay, we don't have anybody else signed up, but I will note that we received a few letters. I won't read them now, but they are a few letters that at some point when we get through the, I'm just going to submit them to the clerk. When we do the minutes, these will be included as minutes. They want to
I
be
have a
heard.
copy, Mayor. I have a copy of everything that I gave to you,
Okay.
and I will include those in the minutes
Okay.
if you prefer.
But I just want, for the record, I guess I can list the names, right? The people who took the time to send an email, and we thank them for that, for their opinion. Sheila Seal, that will be included. James and Deborah Helm will be included in the record. Janet and Norman Hills. Chris Chiarenza. Oh, this is a hard one. Srigar Gang Praya, Sampath, and Ravi Gamatam. Apologize for any butchering of the name there. This one
Did not sign their name.
did not sign their name, just sent a thing, and there's an email address from, I won't disclose that. I guess it's public record though, right?
Yes, it is now.
Yeah, Cokebre, at AOL.com, I guess. So just whoever that is, they didn't sign their name. And then finally, Tim. That's all we have from him. Tim-M at carolina.rr.com. So thank you again for your input. Those will be included in the record. And you said you have those, right?
Yes.
All right. Moving forward, next we have, when we go right to the reports and updates, we'll go in the administrator's report. Christina?
We've had a lot going on. I don't really have a whole lot to report. We did receive our reimbursement check back from NCDOT that was deposited yesterday.
Wow.
Other than that, we've been busy with budget and agenda stuff. So
Okay.
Where are you with putting out the ads for the positions that we're looking for?
that went out last week.
Okay, any responses yet?
We gave them a deadline to the end of the month. So
Okay.
we advertised with the league, and then I think it's on our website. That's for the finance position. So they went out last week.
Perfect. And the park?
That one's been out. I think he's actually interviewed already for that, or he is interviewing this week.
Okay, can we get an update on that for the May 28th meeting?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir. I'm
All
sorry.
right. Thank you, Christina. Next up, we have planners report. Go ahead.
I have nothing to report.
Okay.
What
Any
about
questions
What about
from
what's in here?
council?
Roundabout lights.
Yes. I mean, self-explanatory, I suppose. Can I see that? Alright, so we've got an update on roundabout lighting, which is, it's moving slowly, very slowly. They have to do a couple things. They have to move the spectrum and windstream wires for electrical code compliance, and they have to get encroachment agreements, so they're doing those things simultaneously, they being Union Power. And this other thing that Broadmoor, which is this neighborhood here, submitted a construction plan, which is this neighborhood here on Waxhaw Marvin Road, and Stacy Howie. They are building a 62 home single family neighborhood, and it was approved a while ago, but it got halted, but it's now back on track.
So the good news with that, as far as Marvin is concerned, is it's 24 homes less than what is allowed. Is that correct?
Yes, roughly. It's 86 acres and it's only 62 homes. So, yeah.
So 24 homes times 2.5 children adds about 30 kids to the school system, and that's a big deal. I mean, you know, the fact that they're moving forward with it, I just want to point out that they're staying well below their by right, if I get that right, because I remember approving back in 17 for 86 homes there. So, did they talk about what they estimate the price range will be on the home?
I haven't talked to them about that, but other people are asking too, so I'll find out and let you know when I know.
Do we know when they're planning on starting?
No, and I can't even say because a year ago they said they were going to start in a few months, and you know they just kept pushing it along, so I can't tell you. And they don't even have a builder yet.
And there were very few trees on the property to begin with. It was more of a farming thing, but there's a couple big oaks, I believe, in the front. Are they trying to keep those?
They're doing some preservation in the front, yeah. They're going to do a lot of new planting as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions, Bob? Do you have any questions for Rohit?
I don't.
All right, thank you. Moving on, roads report.
No, just wanted to report that we are still working on the pedestrian refuge options. We've got some traction. We're still trying to iron out a few details, so hopefully I'll have some more information back at the next meeting on it.
Thank you. Next up, we have deputies report, and I think we all got our reports from March and April. So if nobody has any questions, I don't think we need to call him in, do we? All right. Does anyone have any questions about safety or?
Well, I do. One thing that council I'm really concerned about was as the COVID-19, closed down, shut down was taking place. The roads became kind of tranquil, and anybody had noticed that. Since what has been the introduction to phase one, the traffic has increased exponentially, and specifically on Marvin Road, I think on Joe Carr Road too, there are now a lot of people that are out on the roads that are going beyond 45 miles an hour, especially on Marvin Road. They've really been accelerating. My random thought, and I was going to ask the deputy, was what we can do to bring the speed down. I know that's a DOT thing, but that's one of the things that was wanted in the survey was to control traffic. And right now, I don't know where we're at with the roundabout. I will bring that up at another point. But at least on Marvin Road, Newtown Road, it seems to be quite an acceleration all the way down to Joe Carr. And I don't know if the deputy maybe, put more time on, basically getting people that are way exceeding the speed limit that I've observed. So just my comment.
So what he was basically saying, what you missed, that he's seeing an uptick in the number of traffic, people traveling and stuff, and with that, even though it's wide open, speeding's increased and all that. And is there anything we can do? I see we have preventative patrols that there were 179 and stuff. Would that fall under that, where you would be, out there with? I've actually witnessed a couple times with the radar, a couple guys.
Well, the last month or two, we were kind of told to limit our traffic stops because we didn't want to get exposed to the coronavirus.
Right.
So, but before that, yeah, we have been out with LiDAR gun and stopping the car. I mean, I already took a minute ago 54 and 35 before I came here. So,
Okay.
I mean, we're out there trying. So,
Okay. Any other recommendations you would have for? About what we can do to kind of slow that down. I mean, there's obviously we talked about we're pursuing reducing the speed limit on Marvin Road, but it's an uphill battle and has not been decided yet. So
I mean, I sat there for 2 hours one day and I only got one speeder at 60. I mean,
okay,
so
that's not bad. I mean, what time it is, I guess. So.
yeah, I think about 9 o'clock in the morning. around 9.
Okay.
Keep the presence there.
Yeah.
It's probably easier
Now we
to
got
see
somebody else
Joe
coming here
Carr.
too, another deputy.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll be here so he can write tickets. So, I mean, there'll be somebody here almost every day when he gets here in July.
Okay, so that's in July.
That'll help.
And then Joe Carr obviously is a well-traveled, it's easy to go fast on that street right now, so. Okay, thank you, Bob. Anything else for the officer?
No, I'm fine. I appreciate it.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, moving on, we'll go to planning chair report, and that is Chairman John Jones. Where are you, John?
Right here.
All right.
Social distance.
Yeah. See, that's nice.
I didn't listen to Rohit's planner's report, so I'm not sure exactly.
Didn't have anything about
Okay.
planning board.
All right, so in light of the unsolicited emails in regards to the planning board that were sent out over the weekend and the extensive back and forth, let me do this, on the social media, I'd like to set the record straight regarding the planning board, not so much for the council, because you know our responsibilities and our jobs, but for the residents. First, the planning board has absolute no ability to pass any sort of ordinances or regulations. The board only serves as an advisory capacity for the council. And in this advisory capacity, we look at each and every item presented for us to review from every single angle possible, whether, in order to better understand before we make a recommendation. And when I was first appointed to the planning board 3.5 years ago, I guess now, I said to myself, this might be a little difficult because I could already tell there were many totally different opinions and attitudes represented. But to my surprise and pleasure, this works out very well. We all discuss each and every item from all these different perspectives that we can think of, negotiate back and forth before we make a recommendation. And I'm pleased with the way the planning board works. Evidently, one member of the board decided to disseminate some totally erroneous information to the public. Not a surprise to me, since he's exhibited this ability to modify truth for his, to instigate or dissent in the community. He states that the plan is in the current discussion with the village and the affected property owners. The planning board, nor to my knowledge, any member of the village has not had any conversations with the property owners such as that. Approximately 2 years ago, the planning board did have an open meeting with these property owners, and we were tasked to review the draft of the proposed land use plan because it did include a proposal for a village center district. And we thought it appropriate at least to let them speak their feelings about it so that we knew back and forth going in what their thoughts were. He stated that this plan is completed and ready to be activated. In fact, the planning board hopes to send to council our recommendation on the text of the proposed land use plan after our next meeting. Text only. That does not include any maps or any ordinances, zoning revisions, no design guidelines, nothing for the village center district. So that's someday will be completed, but it's not now. We're just this next meeting hopefully going to start talking about the maps. So we're a long way from delineating what we recommend to the council. And after that's completed, then we'll move to the design guidelines and the zoning ordinance revisions. And all these steps will include numerous public input meetings before consideration by the approval by the planning board or consideration by the council. In conclusion, I think this was much ado about nothing other than to foster discontent. So, despite what was put out on email and on next door, this is not what the planning board is doing.
Okay. Thank you for setting the
Would
record
you like
straight on
that
that.
for the record?
I will take it so you can read it and send it to you.
Thank you, that'd be
Because you
wonderful.
could not decipher that.
Anything else, John?
Now,
Okay. When's your next meeting?
next Tuesday night.
The 19th, I
How
think.
is that, how is the planning?
Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
this is not a meeting where you can ask questions for this. This is just for the council, anything. So just, it just gets really long, especially when you have a lot of people in here. But you can ask them separately when he leaves, if you'd like.
The planning board meeting will be an electronic meeting, or whatever you call it.
Virtual
these
meetings,
days.
yes.
Okay, it's a virtual.
And it's a virtual meeting, yeah. So, and I can't answer exactly how that works. I had enough difficulty the last time trying to do it, but
Rohit will organize that, I guess.
Yes.
we did last
Yes,
time.
it'll be a WebEx,
Okay.
just like the council meetings.
Okay.
And the same information will go out to the public in the same way
Okay.
for the
Very
planning
good.
board.
but like I said, a long way away from anything
Okay.
being finalized.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for setting this straight. I'm sure there's many people out there that have been concerned, as they should be, with any type of information that goes out. But I think more importantly, when information is distributed to the community that is completely and totally unvetted and it's unsubstantiated or incorrect or false, we wonder where the term false news comes from. And I greatly appreciate you coming in there and setting that record straight, because it causes due stress on the public, but it's additional work for the planning board, because you're going to get and receive questions, and for the council and for the staff, they're going to receive myriad questions, which takes them away from what they're doing. But it also highlights the fact, and I'm sure you're going to probably hear me say this again, it highlights the fact that information, and we've talked about this many times over the past few months, about having a standard and a regular communication that's going out from staff that highlights everything that we do, we talk about, and all the information needs to be provided out to the community. The void of that comes where you do get misinformation. And so I can't stress enough the importance of making sure that we take the additional steps to make sure that there is a communication from staff that has complete transparency to everything that we do. To add on to that, just so the public knows, and this has been something in design, and we were implementing it before the epidemic thing, the COVID thing started, where I think it was 2 days a week that 2 members of the village council were going to be here, along with the mayor, to sit and take questions, to answer any questions, to answer any concerns that are out there. And that was put in place exactly and primarily because we didn't want misinformation like this to be spread, to be put out. And anytime you have a void, someone's going to fill it. And unfortunately, it's filled with bad information, false information, partial truths, partial fabrication. But I can assure you, from my standpoint, I want nothing less than 100% transparency for this council, for the administration, for everything. So, back to my point, thank you for clarifying from a planning board standpoint. And I hope that everyone out there will see from us, it is our commitment to make sure that all these things are addressed moving forward.
Thank you, Jeremy. And just to add on to that real quick, I mean, when I received the information, it wasn't from anyone here, but I received it on an email that looked official. Got a lot of calls since then that saying that this is official news. In fact, Bob, you'd agree, you called me wondering if you missed the meeting. And I assured you that you didn't, that a lot of the stuff we were reading was just false. So it's unfortunate that it gets out there and stuff, but there's always going to be those individuals that choose to stir the pot for whatever to, stall what we're doing. I can't agree more about the transparency, and I think we're doing everything we can, and I appreciate you bringing it to our attention and putting it on the record, if you will. Kim, do you have anything?
One additional point to that point. I want to take every step that I can as a councilman and present to the board that I'm all for the First Amendment. By all means, I fought for it. However, putting information out under the guise of the Village of Marvin has to stop. That's unacceptable to anyone. If you want to put an email list together, by all means do it. And say whatever you want to say and stand behind it. But sending it out in the guise of the village, and when I first saw it, first thing I thought was like, boy, when did this come about? Because it was under the guise of being the Marvin.
And actually said Village of Marvin, too.
Which, I don't know, and I would certainly turn to our village attorney to say, I don't think that's a legal standing to present themselves.
It's got to be trademarked.
But can we talk about this under new business? Because we're like,
Okay.
we've got a placeholder for this, so
Okay.
let's stick it there.
Okay.
Fair.
Thank you. All right. Anything else? Bob?
No, I agree.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
If people are having trouble hearing, can everyone just speak louder? If you could, I've tried everything I can to communicate.
As long as you don't think I'm yelling.
Yeah, I've tried everything I could. If you guys
Absolutely.
could just project into that microphone.
Sure. Oh, this microphone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Were you talking towards the computer?
I
That would be
was
great.
talking. So,
Okay.
thank you.
You got it.
We'll do it, Rohit. Thank you.
Thanks, and sorry to everyone that has been having.
Next up, we tabled, I'm sorry, PR&G chair report.
Yeah, they didn't have a meeting this month, so
Okay. No meeting.
not that I'm Andy, but
Okay. All right, next up is public hearing. C, conduct a public hearing to consider for adoption of the Village of Marvin annual operating budget. Ordinance number OR-2020-05-01 for fiscal year 2020-2021. I need a motion to open up the hearing.
so moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We have speaking Laura Prim. Again, if you can limit it to 3 minutes, state your name and address, and this is for the public hearing. Yes, I got the right one, because for some reason she wrote in the wrong thing, but that's fine, we can change that.
Okay.
So welcome.
Okay.
Again, my name is Laurie Krem, and my address is 3616 Linden Court in Waxhaw, North Carolina. And is it Leon? Line, excuse me. I wanted to tell you that I greatly appreciate your comments, everything that you had to say. I agree that communication is very important, and it is a citizen's responsibility to try to seek out that information and to know what's going on. Sometimes it's not always the easiest way to do that, or it's not always easy to do. And so I do encourage opportunities, like you were saying, a couple days a week, somebody in here to answer questions when things come up, because a lot of times citizens don't hear about it unless it's a problem, unless it's an emergency. Because if things are going well in your daily life, you're not expecting some major event to come up. I'm the Human Resources Director for a national building supply company. And in the next, the projections 2 weeks ago were that in the next 12 to 18 months that there's going to be a contraction in the building industry from anywhere from 30 to 40%. And right now I know that there are a lot of people who are losing jobs. I know a lot of people who have lost jobs. And we really don't know what direction our economy is going right now. And I serve on a couple of other boards. I understand that you have a budget to meet, that you have something that you've been working on for a very long time, that these are important things that are responsive to a lot of the other issues that you have to deal with. But I would say that the increases that you're considering right now in property tax, also in the salaries, excluding, of course, the new police officer. But those things right now are hard for people to understand when people are losing jobs. When I look at the people that we're having to lay off, we are having to cut salaries, we're having to forbid overtime, we're having to not allow 401k contributions from the company. There's a lot of things that the private sector is doing that is trying to be responsive to the funds or to the financial situation in the country right now. And I'm asking you, even though that I know that you have worked very hard and that you have to be responsive in your budget to the things that are going on right now, to table it for now, table increases for now. And let's see what happens over the next few months, the next 6, 12 to 18 months. I'm not arguing the validity of what you're having to do. I just think right now is not the right time. Not with what's the uncertainty that's going on. And I think that when you consider that people might have to sell their homes because of their job losses, people might, if they're coming into this area trying to, hopefully get somebody to buy their house, but the increase in property tax could have an impact. I'm just asking you to consider that. Because right now, and I know you've been working on this for a long time, but I know that as much as I in my company and in the industry that we are in are trying to be responsive to sudden changes, I'm asking you to try to do the same thing. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We have nobody else that has signed up for that, so I'm going to ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion is closed. So it's now for discussion of adoption of the, we just had our budget meeting previously to this and got updated on everything. Share some information with each other on that. That's available for public record and will be not only on audio but also on the website with minutes and stuff. So I guess we open up any questions, concerns, or this goes to the council since no one's really presenting. Does anyone have any comments? Maybe what you heard or what you have prepared for that? Bob, we'll go with you first.
I tend to agree with my constituent. I've been looking at the budget, and it's a solid budget from the standpoint of the things and the needs that Marvin has needed. But I must tell you, as this is these are strange days, these are strange times, and I know that the budget needs to be approved for our fiscal year starting July 1st. But I don't know if we need to take a little bit of a sharp pencil to what's going to happen in terms of income revenue coming in. It's been put together wonderfully, and we were exposed to it, especially Jamie and myself being brand new council members in January in our retreat. It's solid in terms of, yes, there haven't been any tax increases. This is a wonderful place to live, and people live here. One of the things, again, on the survey that people felt like the reason they lived in Marvin was because of low taxes. And yes, we have not had a tax increase for many years. But then, boom, here we are. And my personal feeling is that possibly my suggestion is that can we table it to just kind of take a sharper look and making sure that we're, just looking at what the next year is going to bring us in terms of revenues and expenses. That's all.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. Anyone want to comment on or have anything regarding the budgets?
Just a quick comment, and I appreciate the comment. I do believe that we have to have the budget submitted. It is mandated by the state to have your budget submitted by
June 30th.
June. We are now in the middle of May. To that point, and there was some great information provided by staff in our budget meeting, and the last tax increase was 2006. And what I thought was very, I mean, when you look at the tax rates across everywhere in Union County, we are one of the very lowest. And one of the points being made was for a $1 million house and property, annual, not monthly, it's a $100 annual tax increase. Not monthly.
And that's for $1 million.
That's
not what the house would sell for, what the valuation of the house, which is usually a lot less than what the house would sell for.
Right. So it would be a $100 or $1 million house and property increase. And I do believe that when the survey was sent out, now again, that was pre-virus and information, and we do have other people, moving into Marvin and other things that are coming up. I'm a staunch, I don't want to raise taxes, period. Sharpen pencils, do everything we've done. But in light of other tax rates, in light of the fact that it is state mandated that we have to have the budget approved and submitted and approved to the state June
30th.
June 30th. And we're talking about a 1 cent tax increase. I just want to provide information and context to what we're voting on from a budget standpoint.
Can you want to say something? I got a few notes I made on this. So I agree with you. Are you done? I'm done. Okay. I looked at this and I've kind of hashed over this, and we were always proud. We went 14 years without a tax rate increase. However, we had a 308% increase since 2002. 308 increase in our residents, which we've never added an officer. The 20% increase, and they're always going to go percentages because that makes it look bad. But it's really only 1 cent. We're going from 5 cents to 6 cents, right? Mm-hmm. So the average home, I'm going to guess, and this is an educated guess based on what I know, is probably less than $500,000, which means your average taxpayer here in Marvin is going to pay an additional $50 a month. A year. A year for the whole thing. I mean, when you compare it, and thank you, Christina, for sharing all the different towns, because if you live right down the street in Waxhaw, you're at 38 cents per millage, where we're at 5 cents going to 6 cents, and we haven't increased it in 14 years. Plus, 100%, we went from taking in $608,000 called ad valorem that you get from the taxes, the 5 cents. That is at $608,000. It's going up $102,000 with that tax increase. 100% of that money, that increase, is paying for the additional officer that this community asked for in the last survey. So we're not trying to bring things in and we're not spending it. The community, via the survey, definitely clearly spoke and said, we want another additional officer. We still have to work on the contracts on that. But we're going to add another $102,000 to the coffers. All 100% of it is going to pay for an additional officer, because that's what their rate is. That's the going rate of the contract. That's one issue. Our taxes, they're extremely low. I want that to continue too. There's no reason if we don't have to, but you can't get anything for nothing. If you want an additional officer, that's going to cost us. And you can look at the budget, 14 years without a thing. I was on a conference call with Union County recently they disclosed that they're going to see a sales tax revenue, and we've got to adjust for that. We've gotten, for years, that's grown where we don't even have a cash register yet we get tax revenues from Union County, because it all goes to Monroe, then they divvy out based on our population. And we're supposed to get a budget for $18,000. Well, they just told me last week that they're seeing a shortage of just in that quarter of 20%. So we've got to be smart about this. I think we've been smart. And as far as the revisions, just for the record, these, you can call them jobs, but they're not jobs. They're a volunteer position. We do spend a lot of time on it. We were trying to get ourselves at the same rate as other communities with the stipends, and we did change it, to be fair, that you don't automatically get it. There were some individuals that went a full year with not showing up as a council member, and they got paid. That's $5,000 out the window with not once adding a vote or saying anything. And they got paid. Well, now we changed that. Excuse me. We changed that where our stipends are reduced significantly based on what I saw in the budget. And we get paid if we show up like we are here today. No excuses. You missed 3. You're going to basically not get paid for those 3 times that you got in there. So we put stipulations in there, and yet here we had over the last year, we had an individual as a council member that refused to show up, wouldn't take any calls. We asked to have a hearing on it. He never showed up, but this community paid $5,000 for him to do absolutely nothing. And we're correcting that in ways that you can look in the budget. Our stipends gone way down. We have to show up to earn it. And the stipends are very, very small. They will only tell you by percentage what it's going to go up. But when you look at it, if I show up to all the meetings, I think I make $500 a month as the mayor. Okay, that's not a job. I don't look at it as a job. I will use that to pay for babysitters, quite frankly, if I have to. Or I used to pay for babysitters. But I don't look at it as a job. It's in line with everything else. I'm comfortable. And more importantly, it's a significant reduction unless we show up to do our job, and that's what we've included here. So that's all I have to say. If anyone else wants to say anything else before we move forward on that.
I think you guys have covered everything that I was going to say. There's no point in repeating it.
Okay. Any other questions, concern, Bob, or any other council members?
No, sir.
Staff? All right, so we'll need a motion for the budget. Do you want to make a motion?
Sure.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the Village of Marvin Annual Operating Budget Ordinance OR-2020-05-01 for fiscal year 2020 to 2021.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you for that. Thank you for your comments. Next up, we have consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes. Next up is, Bob, did you get an aye on that?
Who made the motion to pass the consent?
I so moved it.
Yeah, a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated.
Sorry, aye. Yeah.
Okay. And Jamie, you were on for aye, so that's the motion on unanimous. Next up, we have unfinished business. One is...
Hold on, Village Hall.
Oh, did I miss something? Village Hall, sorry.
So just wanted to let you know, I did get a letter back today from Mike Walden. I have not had time to fully review it, but it looks like in their initial assessment of the grading water sewer, we're estimating about $450 to $530 at the site here to bring in the grading as we had initially discussed. The water and sewer is still up for discussion as we need to talk to Union County about some additional things. I'm sorry. So anyways, I'm still getting estimates back from them, and I'm also trying to figure out if we're going to have to resubmit building plans to Union County if the location changes. So again, to constituents listening at home, We are still reviewing different options for Village Hall, this being one of them. We're looking at all the financial costs and impacts.
So tell me what information you got back from Mike.
We had hired him to do, Mike Walden's our contract engineer, and we had hired him to look at this site right here and tell us how much it's going to be for grading, so we can compare apples to apples in terms of what sites.
So how much was it at the corner
It's
versus
around 800, 900,
for grading?
correct.
And how much was it for here?
He's estimating anywhere from 450 to 530.
Okay.
Is that
So-
1,000 or 100?
Christina, before I forget, and I've asked this question and brought this up before, there was a sign that said future home of
Yes.
of village, of the new village hall.
Yes.
Say it louder.
Can you let everyone know that what was found out when I asked the question, was that plat of land specifically donated, specifically required that the village hall go there?
To my understanding, it's not, but that would be a question for the attorney that has to look at the deed restrictions or deed covenants, but I don't think so.
Well, I was here, and I can tell you it was donated to the village, and there was no stipulations that a town hall had to be on it. What I will tell you is the councilman at the time said, oh, free land, that means that's where our town hall goes, because the land is free. I argued that point saying that just because you got free land is not best use of land, which is a terminology in real estate. There's other areas that could be better, and that could be suited for something different. My concern was a comment that we heard that from planning board, and maybe we have to bring Rohit back in here, that it was not buildable or some sort of thing, which I don't think, just for the record, was never mentioned in our progress of figuring out where we were going to put town hall. It was never determined that there was a term used, not inhabitable or plausible or so would it be a fair thing to say that a sign going up, and I would venture to say that if it were me, I wouldn't put it up until it was 100% clear and determined that that's where my site was going to be, that sign was put up prematurely? I would say yes, because it hadn't been decided yet. We hadn't figured out, but the majority of council, I think, would have liked to see it there, but that was, in my view, a knee-jerk reaction just from getting the land donated. And I just, because I know that's a topic of discussions, it was a topic of people inquiring about it and assuming maybe unfairly, it's okay to assume. But we did a poor job of making sure that we took the sign down. Thanks for doing that. And until there is a complete determination, I would recommend that we don't communicate something until it's factual. I'll turn it back over to you on the...
That's all I had. I mean, we're still looking into the financial costs. Once I get them nailed down a little bit more with Mike, I will get that into a formal document to submit to you guys. I just wanted to let you know we're still working on it. Just received it back today, so we will have some more information soon about Village Hall.
Okay, so it was, tell me the numbers again.
He estimated 457 to 530.
Okay, and that's not including water and sewer.
He's still looking into the sewer portion of it. Depends on the site work and what's required with that.
Does that include water?
I have to look at the email again. I think that it does, but I need to look at the email.
Okay, and then does the 850 to 900 at the corner property, does that include water and sewer?
That, again, I'd have to look at the actual bid estimates to tell you for sure. I don't want to tell you something erroneous.
Well, I appreciate that.
For the record, take a walk down memory lane. Not many years ago, this budget started at $650,000 when we first got this, and it moved up to, I think when Councilman Salome was still here, it somehow moved to close to $900,000. And the proposal on the corner, I think the lowest out of 3 bids was $1.8 million. You talk about, a lot of people would just say, hey, we got an endless coffer here, just add to the tax base and stuff, and let's just build right there and pay almost twice what our budget is and just let the taxpayers pay for it over time and stuff. And I'm saying we have a budget, we have opportunities, let's vet everything we can, including this property here, which we have with the church, other locations, and we've made site visits individually and as as a staff I brought into that. So until that's vetted completely and we are comfortable with, hey, maybe that is where it ends. And I'm not saying it is or isn't, but right now it's almost double what. And maybe that'll change with building supplies and building going down and people wanting to work. Maybe there'll be more aggressive and stuff. You could see prices going down. But a couple months ago when we were talking about it, you couldn't get it to build under 200 bucks a square foot.
So just for the record, that the corner property is not off the table. I mean,
Right.
we're still.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
We're still looking at every option we can to make sure that we're putting it in the best place for the best price.
I'm going to read the letters just so y'all have it, so y'all have the same information I do. AMT has performed an evaluation of the proposed Village Hall property site for the purpose of estimating the cost of grading, water, and sewer. And this was discussion just for this site that we're on right now. And
Here, not the one where
This
they
one here,
recommend.
yes.
Okay.
No, like right next door.
Okay, so not here, but
Not like right over there.
The reason we didn't do it down the road is because we already had some general estimates for that. And we were
Right.
trying to compare this site versus
Right.
that site.
When she
total
says
cost.
this, she doesn't mean physically
Right.
just right there.
Please be aware there are no current surveys for this property. The grading estimate is based on field observations and topo maps. We estimate grading to cost between $457,000 and $530,000. The estimated cost of sewer will depend on the recommendations by Union County. The same is true for water. If Union County is not willing to extend the water main down to Newtown to the property frontage, the best option is to run a private line to the nearest tap source, estimate using easements and encroachments. We estimate this to cost less than $20,000.
Okay.
So that's what it says. I don't know particularly what the exact cost for the other items in the other bids were, but I know the grading was around $800,000, $900,000 off the top of my head.
So for the work session in May, can you kind of chart it out?
Yeah, that's what I was planning on doing.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yep.
And for the record, for those who haven't seen it, in one of our recent meetings, when we talk about vetting and looking at all options, that included leasing property from the church, where we would, they paid the taxes on the land, we paid the taxes on the building, and we were required to deal with all the maintenance on the
No
building.
taxes.
Or no taxes, sorry. But either way, it is that was one of the things, the ideas that was discussed. And quite frankly, we haven't had a meeting with the elders or the people that are involved, but they're at least interested in talking about a long-term, and when I talk about long-term leasing, we are looking at 99-year plus leasing, where we build a building and they lease the lot from us. I personally don't know all the ins and out benefits, pluses and minuses, but it could be something that works. I think Chaplin shared with us, our attorney, some concerns by building that and getting involved with tearing this one down. I think we decided that probably would be smart, but there's some options out there. All I want to do is basically vet all of the options to see what's the best move forward.
Feasible.
Yeah. Anything else, Christina?
No, sir.
Bobby,
I wanted to, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I wanted to thank you for you and Jamie and those comments. We have been talking about this forever. We have been constantly, when Jamie and I were running for our positions, we talked about if there was a need for a new village hall, what would we do? We talked about between the two of us that, hey, maybe we can just go ahead and blow out the building, the walls that everybody's looking at right now, and maybe spend a couple of $100,000. I don't know, I'm not in construction, I don't know what it costs, but we talked about maybe we can just deal with what we got. And what the public needs to know is every month we have been talking about, look at, if everybody sees this picture that I'm seeing right now, how cramped everybody is. And the fact that I'm not even there because of health issues and other health issues my wife has means we need some sort of larger facility. But there has never been one spot that has ever been decided or chosen or even wondered about. We've left our options open. And I just want to make that for the record. We don't have any. We've been going through the village trying to find a place to be. Where do we do? What's it going to look like? And that is a fact. And like you said, that when we remove the sign, we don't know if it's going to be there or not be there. It's not a definite site. It's just not a definite site. James' point. It's not a definite site. But we don't even know where the other site is. We're talking about it. So thank you. I appreciate the ongoing conversations we've been having about this every month.
To that point, I would say when it comes time for a sign, we have a contract with the developer because we didn't even have bids at the time. We just slapped the sign, paid $500 for a sign to put up there.
But we kept the sign.
We kept the sign. But we paid $500 for the sign that we didn't even have. We didn't have budget approval for because we didn't have bids, and the lowest bid came in at 1.7 on a originally $650,000 budget, which we moved to 900. That doesn't include furniture, by the way. So, anyways, thank you, Bob. Next up, we have F, unfinished business. Consideration of approval, resolution number RS-2020-05-01 to change the compensation of village council. Where's Christina?
She went to go table
She's,
something right quick. Do I need to?
Do you want me to present?
It's freezing.
Okay.
Yes, that'd be great. Is it cold?
It's freezing.
At the last meeting, we had a draft resolution. One, we didn't have current numbers. Two, y'all wanted to focus even more on attendance. And here we have a compensation schedule, and if you look down at the footnote, it is based upon the budget that you just approved. With 25 meetings per year, you have 27 meetings scheduled for this year, but you usually have one or two that are going to get canceled. And also your meetings like tonight, or if you're going to have another joint meeting, or you have two back-to-back meetings, we count those as one meeting. And we did talk about it. If you miss more than 3, you're not going to get compensated for those meetings. And it sets forth a schedule that it does pay more based upon 2 meetings a month. The compensation is now higher for the meeting attendance than the monthly stipend. And that's what we tried to do based upon your instruction from the last meeting.
And this was the change was brought about by the fact that we had there was a council member that was absent for
1 year today.
and was paid for each one.
Yes, and legally, I told y'all at the time, and y'all were frustrated, that the only time you can change your compensation is in concurrence with the adoption of the agenda. And y'all wanted to move on this as quickly as you can, and legally this was the first time you could do it.
Yes.
But I just want to be on record to say the reason this was even brought up to make the change in the structure was because we had someone that was absent for a year, and we continue to pay them. And as I recall, gosh, I would love to get paid for a year to do absolutely nothing. And I think if I were, maybe I would at least make a public apology or write something. But that was on my statement from before. But that's my 2 cents worth.
So, and then when I read your resolution and the change of the compensation, you're talking about what it's going to be, which is significantly almost half of what I normally used to get unless I show up for meetings and attend all these meetings. But there's nothing in there that says not to exceed. Do we need to put that in there on the verbiage part?
We can add that in, certainly, that you're, we can add one sentence, and I'll put that in no event shall your compensation exceed 7,200, 7,200 for the mayor, 6,600 for the mayor pro tem, and 6,000 for the council members.
I mean, I think that makes sense because we are going to have special meetings. We are going to have other things that come up, but I'm not trying to get paid extra. We really wanted to do this so that if people aren't showing up and it's unexcused, then we don't have to continue to pay people. We wasted $5,000 last year and had to cancel a lot of stuff and wasn't able to get a lot of stuff done because we didn't have somebody here and we were paying them. So I don't want to get paid extra for extra meetings that we may have. And I'm certainly not looking for when we do come in here and have, meetings with constituents. I'm not looking to get paid extra for that kind of stuff. So yes, I think that it needs to be put in there not to exceed, X number, like those numbers there.
Yeah, so it's not per meeting. If we added a separate meeting, like you talked about the weekly meetings that we're here, we're not getting additional, any of that. So make that, if that can be made clear.
That is made clear because that has to be a quorum, but I can...
But like special meetings, or if we have joint Park, Rec, and Greenway meetings, like I don't need to be compensated extra for that stuff. This is for our monthly meetings that we have, twice a month, except for April and November, and December. But I think having it in there stating not to exceed.
Yeah, if we leave it as we have it and have a not to exceed, if you do those other meetings, you're covered.
Okay.
And it would be 7,200 for the mayor, 6,600 for the mayor pro tem, and 6,000 for council.
Where do we get those numbers from?
That is from the budget you just approved.
No. I'm saying, where did those numbers come from? When you do, is there a comparison, right? Did we not do one?
Yes, we did. We compared like municipality, like jurisdictions, like sizes.
So we chose like Weddington.
And we're still lower than,
We're still lower.
Yeah, and I'd have to pull that documentation. It's been several months since we've talked about it, but we did actually look at it.
And most of those are on the annual, which y'all were until you had problems to change and address.
So we have a fix in a sense that for a council person who chooses not to show up for whatever reason, sickness, there could be excused, could be non-excused, but if they just choose not to show up, that has no effect in what we do as far as when we can do what we did recently with the motion to remove someone. When is there any kind of resolution that we should be thinking about to, because if someone goes to that, as far as I'm concerned, they don't want to participate in the village meetings, they shouldn't be, not only should we, let's get someone in here that will come to the meetings. We went a full year, how many meetings? You had it in the, when we heard the...
Yeah, there was probably about
at least
20,
right,
maybe more.
And that's just standard regular meetings that are set at the beginning of the year. But I guess my question for you, Chaplain, is as we think going forward, yes, we've basically addressed the issue of compensation, which we can address because it's in the budget and we can do it immediately rather than wait a full year where he got paid and never showed up. But I also want something, if the council could hear me out on this, something in place. If this goes on for whatever, you guys pick 6 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it is, that emotion process goes forward, or are we allowed to just...
You can start it again.
Why don't we put this on the work session?
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that is a little bit different than
Yeah,
this.
we're addressing the financial, but there was also the...
So can we add that to the work session? And Chaplain, if you can put something together for that, that would be helpful.
Want to just amend it like that?
Yep, that's exactly.
Okay.
Add discussion on.
Add discussion of a motion process going forward and get a memo from Chaplain on what it is.
That's going to be the amended version.
There's a lot of stipulations of when you can, what's excused, what's not, that kind of stuff. So good stuff. Thank you.
So let me just, so it's three meetings without valid excuses won't be compensated. So it's not, they miss 3 meetings and then they start not getting compensated. Those 3 meetings that are unexcused no valid excuses, they won't get compensated for those 3, or does it have to be after those 3?
It's after those 3, and I did that, and y'all have the final say so, but I did that for accounting purposes because it's a lot easier every month to keep it going. And you usually have some pretty valid excuses, even though it's technically not an excused absence where you're going to miss one or two.
So somebody could just miss 3 meetings.
They miss 3.
Get paid, come to a meeting, miss 3 meetings, get paid, no.
The 4th during any fiscal year.
So 4th, 5th, 6th,
4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, they don't
even
get paid.
if it's not in a row.
Even if it's not in a row. And if it is in a row, regardless of the reason, if you miss 3 or more in a row, you're not going to get paid.
But do you get paid for the first 3 that you missed?
If it's, yes, you get paid for the
Okay,
first.
so you get 3 freebies, and
Yes.
after that, of unexcused. Now, if they're excused, you've got, you're out of town, you're puking your brains out, whatever it is, then you've got 3 freebies.
And
Unexcused.
yes, and the board gets to decide the excuse, so somebody's got to bring that up. So a lot of it is, it has to be a valid excuse.
And to be clear, just because we put in our new, one of the resolutions or one of the ordinances we put in is, you can be away
And call in.
and call in.
And, and be counted.
And be counted.
And
Correct?
vote.
Correct.
In the vote.
Not quorum.
Yeah.
Like Bob's counted as quorum because we're in what's happening
Emergency.
now. But if it's a regular day, nothing's going on, Bob would not count as quorum. We 3
would
would
still
have to be
need-
here.
3 of us
3
would
of us
have
would
to
have
be
to be
right
here.
now.
But he could still vote on all matters and his vote would count.
Yes.
Okay.
And he still has to call in ahead of time. And just for the record, for the community that's listening in, we did that well before COVID and any of this hit because we wanted the ability to call in when you were away and be able to have a vote. So that's, to be clear, is not considered as an absent vote. But we just need to make sure we have at least 3 of us physically here
Okay.
in
So
a 4 council, 1 mayor.
So you get,
Yes, with the absence, with the vacancy, we're actually fine right now. But
Yes.
going forward,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
so we've got 3 freebies,
Yes,
unexcused, and then after that, it's no compensation.
per meeting.
Even if you come to 10 meetings and then you miss 5 more, you don't get paid those. It doesn't start over.
Correct. It's on a fiscal year because y'all budget on a fiscal year, and we also needed a time period to count those, and that's the easiest way to count.
So to be clear and to be helpful and very clear, so the way I see this logistically happening, Councilmember X misses 3 meetings in a row, the people deciding if it's excused or unexcused are the remainder of council. Is that fair? There's no staff or anything. The council it's on the agenda to discuss. Give us your excuse or no excuse, and we make a determination through a vote. I think is the way to go.
Village council, and that's what it says, shall vote upon the merits of any justification.
Okay. Bob?
I totally agree. But again, for the record, now, I came from a corporate background where I was paid salary. A lot of people, are not. But I was paid a salary. And if I had to work 80 hours, I did. If I had a more efficient performance, I worked 60 hours or 50 hours. I was in the restaurant business. And the bottom line of it is that what is silly and what is leading up to some of the other topics I'm going to talk about is that we have dealt with the last years, and people of Marvin need to know this. This is why I ran. I know this is why Beyond Ran, I know this is why Jamie's there. We ran because we wanted to serve the community. I didn't ask how much you get paid. I ran to basically serve the community because I felt like I had something bigger than self. And, it's nice, I guess, I don't know, you get a little bit more than what you're supposed to, and I figured, okay, but we sat there and said, we need to be more transparent with the community, like basically James said earlier. And we said, maybe a couple of days a month, we can sit and basically, like Joe, you started it with basically a cup of Joe with Joe, which nobody seems to know about. You could come to the village council, you could talk to 2 council members, and you could just lay it out and let us know. And okay, we didn't, none of us in the council well, how much are we going to get paid for that if we put in 2 more days a week? We basically wanted to serve the community. And the city, okay, so we're going to raise it, not 50%, but we'll get raised 20%. We're going to make $400 to $500. It's in the budget. I didn't ask how much more time. If I had to go out and go do the trails with Derek and see what trees fell down, I didn't ask anything. I was paid a salary and I either work X amount of hours or not. And the amazing thing is that the personalities that have driven Marvin for the past number of years have gotten stuck. And the bottom line is half the decisions we're making are based off of personalities from the past. I totally agree with what we're talking about, that we basically 3 strikes you're out. That's the way it used to be in my business. If you did a no call, no show for 3 times, that was it. So, I'm passionate about this. You serve people. You do the work of the people. And, whatever the compensation is, okay? None of us are in this meeting room sitting here because of the compensation. So I agree with all of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. All right, any other comments, questions? No, by the way, there are other committees that we sit on that we don't get, that are beyond, like, attached to counties and state levels that we go to too. So it's not something that, I take lightly either, but thank you for those comments, Bob. So we need an approval on this resolution then? Or do you have more to say, or do you have any changes?
Yes, but I'll do it in the motion if everybody's ready.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? All right, we'll do the motion.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution RS-2020-05-01 to change the compensation of village council. And in this resolution, as stated with an addition of, in no event shall compensation exceed the amount in the annual budget for any council member.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously.
Can we take a...
Yep, I'm going to call Bob for a quick 5-minute recess. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Aye.
Yeah.